Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened. And then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here again with Rob and Ashley. Folks, how we doing this week? It's been an interesting day in the motorsports world, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Not a lot to talk about today. Pretty slow news day.
Yeah.
This should be a pretty quick show, I think.
I'm already exhausted.
Yeah.
So let's get this going.
Let's plow right into it. Straight into Kansas, folks.
Yeah, we'll talk about Kansas before we get into the big old news. But, yeah, I mean, it was a Kansas race weekend, and your racing was pretty good all around. I mean, none of us expected a repeat of the spring race, but especially being in the playoffs, and as people have said, drivers do get a little more cautious in the playoffs, which we kind of saw on Sunday. But where do we want to start? What is this Corey Day stuff? Because whatever race that was, I missed it.
That was the ARCA race. I don't know who won it. It was probably William Sawalich or fucking
Tanner Gray.
Gray won. Fellow New Mexican. How about that? I'm gonna have to have a beer over that one. Tanner Gray.
The only thing I remember from that whole race is that they showed a clip of Ty Gibbs holding Tanner Gray's pit sign, wearing shorts. That's all I remember.
I don't think that's allowed on pit road.
I don't think so either, but it's ARCA.
So
yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know who won the race until just now, but what I did see was video after the fact of
Ty Gibbs shorts.
Of Ty Gibbs shorts. Well, something almost as embarrassing. Andy Jankowiak and his bandana, which I like. Yeah. Andy, he's a cool guy. He's a New York modified guy. Has been racing in ARCA with the family team. They don't have a lot of money or resources, and Corey Day just used the fuck out of him at the end of that race. And if you know anything about Corey Day, who of course is the new protege at Hendrick, Kyle Larson says he's one of the best he's ever seen, so that says something. Jeff Gordon agrees. That also says probably more, to be honest. Already in the Hendrick pipeline out there running the HendrickCars.com scheme in ARCA and making friends just like he does in the dirt world. Kind of driving like an asshole and not caring about it.
But what about this bandana?
Behavior.
You haven't seen the video? Oh, Andy always wears a bandana for some reason. So he looks kind of like Prison Mike from The Office.
That's what I was figuring, and that's not a good look.
And I saw the tweet about it. I was like, oh fuck! Like there was a fight, and Andy Jankowiak whipped Corey Day's ass, and it was just him going over there and kind of like mumbling at him a little bit, and then Corey just kind of chuckles and gives an interview afterwards saying, "I don't care. I'm not here for other people." Which whatever, that's fine. But it is your fucking third ARCA race, so maybe tone it down a little bit, especially when your finishes aren't as good as folks expected.
These goddamn youngins have no respect. That's just how it is.
Corey is a massively talented race car driver, but I think he'll learn eventually that in the pavement world, he's already learning it in the dirt world, I guess, and the consequences are a little higher over there, but in pavement, like they will just straight up wreck you because they can. And I think he'll get a taste of that as he comes up. But yeah, Corey's a talented guy, but just take a deep fucking breath, pal. Yeah, because you don't want Andy J coming over there and fucking blowing air at you, I guess, or whatever he did. That's all I saw from the ARCA race, though.
Well, it's more than I saw, so.
Yeah, there was a truck race, wasn't there?
There was a truck race, and that was Friday night. It was fine. It wasn't. I don't really remember much from it. I know I watched it, but couldn't tell you what I saw.
Yeah, excellent start.
Wasn't Corey Day in that truck race too?
Yeah, he ran a truck race for McAnally. He got caught up in a wreck. I forget with who, but a really bizarre accident. I forget who took him out, but just kind of hooked right.
It was Matt Mills, maybe.
It was Matt Mills, that's right. And I don't really know what that was about. It looked like something broke, or he was trying to take out the guy in between, because they were 3 wide going into a corner, and his car just snapped right. Almost as ridiculous as the Justin Haley wreck on Sunday. Kind of similar, in fact, but I don't think this one was anything more than something breaking. They never really got to the bottom of that, and if they did, listeners, let us know. But yeah, that was Corey had a rough night on the high banks of Kansas.
It was on Fox, so we'll never know.
We'll never know who won that race or what happened or who caused what.
Yeah.
But it was the playoff cutoff line for the round of 8.
It was.
And Daniel
Raja made it.
Raja made it in, yep.
Daniel Dye and Ben Rhodes got cut. So we are saved from a Ben Rhodes championship, thank God.
We don't have to watch him drink the 3rd beer of his life in the Victory Lane interview for that, so that's good.
Piss his wife off some more. But no, Saturday. So Saturday was the Xfinity race, and before we actually get into the race, we should talk about the TV coverage. This was the first broadcast of Xfinity on CW.
Second.
Which I know.
Second.
Wasn't the second?
Bristol was on there too.
Bristol.
Yeah.
Well, fuck me then. Anyways, it was the second one, but it was the first one that I can recall people saying that the race was blacked out due to college football in their area. So that is going to be an issue, because I definitely saw a bunch of people saying that, even on like some Discords and stuff I'm in.
Interesting.
So that could be an issue. And also being on the CW, there was a WWE NXT car, which even as the show's wrestling fan, I'm very glad that car didn't win. And Cole Custer was driving, I should say, because the driver that was on the wrestler that was on the car, Ethan Page, I think he's kind of a douchebag, and if he got a win, his head would just explode. So I'm very glad his car didn't win.
Didn't Cole say a bad word on TV? Didn't the F word go out on regular television?
Yes,
Twice.
it absolutely did. Yes.
He was telling Chandler Smith that he's fucked, and he said it twice. And then the booth replayed it. They're like, "Oh, listen to this great radio coverage from Cole Custer," and it's just him dropping F-bombs. And then Kim Kuhn tried to say that he was saying sitting duck instead of...
Well, hey, you know, we all remember what happened with "Let's Go Brandon" chants, so you know, it's kind of similar.
Well, these fans are just loving it. Yeah. Who won that?
As much.
I didn't watch
Eric
that race.
Almirola won.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which I do not like Eric Almirola at all. But again, that goes back to me not wanting to see Ethan Page in Victory Lane celebrating. So
Eric really having a good year. Second win of the year. I mean, it's Gibbs equipment, so you'd expect.
It was that car's 8th win of the year. Like, I think everybody that's driven it has gotten 2 wins in it. He was the 4th driver to get 2 wins in that car. So.
Yeah, Eric doesn't suck. You know, he's not the best that was ever in the Cup Series, but he's certainly not the worst. And it was not at all surprising to see him get a win.
He does suck as a human being, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We're going to separate the personal from the on-track activity here.
Okay.
Trying to think what else happened in that race. I mean, it was fine. It was a good race. It was just a Toyota show, really. I mean...
Yeah, as a Sling customer, I also just don't have the CW, like, at all.
No.
Well, you can go to Walmart and spend $6 on an antenna and you're set.
Yeah, I could do
Put
that.
on your to-do list.
Yeah, next time I head over to Walmart, I'll be sure to pick up a TV antenna so I can watch that and reruns of whatever the fuck else is on CW. Judge Joe Brown.
I will say that when Eric won, he started doing his burnout, and CBS put it in a split screen and quit acknowledging it or paying attention to it because they were busy following Herbst because he was going to confront Austin Hill.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's right. There were a few different confrontations after the race, but it was really just people walking up to each other. I mean, come on. Like, Riley Herbst is not going to do anything to Austin Hill.
We all saw what happened to Myatt Snyder that one time, and that didn't go so well. So.
Yeah.
Video evidence of fucking Austin Hill being a complete tree trunk of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that wouldn't have gone well for little O'Reilly, but
No.
you know, it was a fine race. I don't really have
Speaking
a
of
whole lot
guys
else
who
to say
actually
about
did
it.
get injured this weekend, apparently Michael McDowell tripped and fell and face planted. I didn't see any video of this, but the tweet about it was very funny.
Yes.
I guess.
Wish-
If
wish I
anyone
could have
does
seen
have
that.
footage, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it to us. We'd love to break that. And I'm assuming this will not be included in the 2311 front row lawsuit.
Probably
Little
not.
slip and fall addendum in there.
Chip tooth repairs.
Well, he's on his way to Spire anyway, so by the time this thing hits the courts,
Yeah. Sheldon Creed, I think he got a top 10. I don't think he was in the top 5, but there were a few tweets about Sheldon winning. One, Sheldon Creed is winning today. I can feel it in my frontal lobe.
Yep.
And then another one, my balls feel Sheldon Creed first win today. Yeah. So unfortunately, those people need to go to a doctor because that did not happen.
Get your lobe and balls checked up by a medical professional. Yeah, both of those tweets, they came up side by side for me. They were posted hours apart, but for whatever reason, Twitter decided to organize those together for me so I could take a nice, clean screenshot. So thank you, Elon Musk. You won't hear me saying that very often, but I really appreciate the algorithm doing me a solid here.
And yeah, moving on to Sunday, the Cup race. So it started off with a lap 1 spin that mainly involved Josh Berry, and with 4 flat tires, NASCAR did not let him go back to pit road and change them. What they did was put his car on the flatbed and drive him through the RV area.
Which is apparently
Straight
policy.
to the campground.
Yeah. So he did not get to rejoin the race, and that's one of those really confusing NASCAR rules that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially with the car. I mean, again, the car was fine. He just had 4 flat tires. He couldn't fucking go anywhere. So because he was involved in the wreck and sustained damage, that means he was out of the race. Insane, like truly fucking insane.
Yeah, Rodney Childers and Josh and the whole SHR team were livid, as they should be, to the point to where NASCAR is actually going to look at this. They're not going to change anything until 2025 because that's, I guess, what you got to do with shit like that. But if we're going to be bolting on extra shark fins and shit like that, then maybe it's okay to make a procedural change like that. Because if we get to Phoenix or a place like that, and this happens to whoever's in the championship 4, that's not at all acceptable. So
No.
I'm a little surprised that they're like, yeah, we'll wait till next year. It's like, really? Okay.
I thought the cars also were supposed to get those like
The jack.
air jacks. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Rodney said that their team only has 1, and they had already put it on the Talladega car to prepare for it, so they didn't have it on the Kansas car.
Yikes.
Well,
Yeah.
add that to the lawsuit. Well, we're getting to it, folks. Don't worry. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it. And the Corey LaJoie, Justin Haley ride swap happened, and
Day one.
the luck of the 7 car stayed with the 7 car because Justin Haley had a really weird wreck out of nowhere and ended up he was running okay, but he ended up finishing 33rd, whereas Corey LaJoie got a top 15. He was very quiet. You don't really see much or hear much of him all day, but he was just there. And I hate to say congrats, Corey, but I mean, good for him, I guess.
Yeah, there's a demon living inside of that 7 car, I think.
I think Corey LaJoie left his stank all over that 7 car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Haven't aired it out yet.
apparently that was due to a miscommunication between him and the spotter.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
He wasn't clear by any means, and the spotter didn't call him clear, but the way he told Justin where he was sitting in traffic apparently confused the hell out of him. And he was like, all right, cool, I'll drop to the bottom, and then just fucking killed himself.
Yeah, it was definitely like that first week learning curve of, just them not communicating certain things the right way to each other. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that won't happen again. But
Obviously, switching to the 7's a big deal for Justin, especially with the Hendrick connections and all that. I think we expect big things out of him, or at least more of the same. But Rick Ware's had a decent year, too. I mean, they've made some big strides, and Justin was able to put that car in places where it didn't belong. And, much as we shit on Corey, like, again, he's not the worst guy in the garage area, and I think that if he's going to be able to hold on to this ride and stay in the Cup Series, this is the sort of shit he has to do. So I'm sure the 51 guys were very happy to get a top 15 out of that deal, especially at a mile and a half. So I got to give credit where credit's due, as much as I hate it. But again, I'm still going to lean more on this being Rick Ware making improvements and less on old Corey here.
Yeah.
That's fair. And then from there, I'm trying to think what else happened in the race. Kyle
Ross Chastain won.
Ross, we're getting to that. We're getting to that.
Kyle Busch drama and Larson drama.
Yeah, I mean, you're Kyle Larson that had a flat tire
we don't gotta
almost
talk about
immediately,
that.
and again, just a lot of playoff drivers had issues. Christopher Bell got into the wall a couple times and really ruined his day. I mean, he should have won the fucking thing, to be honest, and he didn't.
These fucking dirt guys forgetting there's more than 30 laps in the feature. Yeah, Christopher definitely. I'm gonna call him Chris. Chris, you ruined it on your own there, bud. Just pushing it a little too hard, and 2 trips up into the fence is not what you need to do. And I need him to be in the championship 4 because I said he'd be there on this show, and I don't want to sound like an idiot, so. So far, all the guys that I've picked for the championship 4 are in some serious trouble. So.
What were you saying, Ashley? Something about Cindric?
He spun at one point.
Yeah, he spun. Chase Briscoe
had to change engines before the race, but he rebounded.
He ended up doing okay.
Finished.
Didn't hear anything about Suarez. Chase Elliott got like a top 10, I think.
Yeah.
Once again, Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe kind of have a little bit of an issue. I don't know. It's hard to really say that, but Kyle Busch once again was fighting for the victory, and he and Ross put on a great battle for a while.
Yep.
Really, really fun to watch. And then, Chase Briscoe was fighting to stay on the lead lap and racing Kyle Busch fairly hard. He thought he left him a lane up top to pass him, but apparently wasn't enough. That got Kyle loose and spun him out. And while it didn't destroy his day, it ruined his chances of winning. Unfortunately, the clock is ticking on his win streak. So we'll see if he can pull off in these next couple races. But as stated, the Melon Man himself got his first victory of the season, and smashed a watermelon and put on probably one of the longest burnouts all year, I would say. Not quite as cool as Shane's full course drift, but
did you smash any watermelons in your backyard or out in the street?
I did not. I wish I could fucking smash a watermelon Busch Light, but they still don't exist. That's the only watermelon I'm gonna smash.
Fictional beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but, very good.
It's kind of funny that race. It did remind me of the previous Kansas race a lot, and I feel like that's almost what we would have seen had those cautions not come out at the end. Very, very similar trajectory there, minus the green-white checker at the end, where of course we got to see Buescher and Larson bang doors. But yeah, again, another really enjoyable race. Kansas fucking rips. I wish we would have been able to have gone to that. And you could tell that a lot of people were excited to be there because those stands were fucking packed.
Yeah.
Packed house.
Well, I mean, it's got to be one of the best-selling tickets of the series at this point. I mean, everybody knows at the very least you're going to get a decent race. They're never going to have a bad one, at least not with this car. So
no.
I think they were all there to watch Carl Edwards drive the pace car.
There's a good chance. Which, by the way, Denny Hamlin, if he has a team next year, did offer that Carl has an open seat in one of his cars anytime he wants to come back. But since I don't think NASCAR is going to up the horsepower on these things, I really doubt that Carl's ever going to come back and drive fucking a 550 horsepower shitbox. So, I'd love to see it. Not a Carl Edwards fan, but I'd love to see it.
I know you aren't, but I would love to see it.
All right, and that I guess pretty much wraps up the Kansas talk, and now we'll get into the other news and notes. So probably the biggest news nationwide right now is the Hurricane Helene, which hit North Carolina and Virginia in the south, and thankfully it didn't hit any race shops or anything, but it hit the fucking mountain that Kyle and I stayed on for Bristol last week. It's crazy to think about. If we were there a week later, we would have been screwed because I think it's pretty much impossible to get off that mountain at this point. So
yeah, man,
that would have been rough.
I mean, even Charlotte.
That town is only accessible by a helicopter still.
Yeah.
So
it's just awful, awful stuff. I mean, the whole Black Mountain area is completely gone. Asheville's still completely cut off. I-40 is going to be at least partially shut down for at least a year. Like this is Katrina level shit happening here.
Yeah.
And just quick shout out to Greg Biffle in particular, but also Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs, and the rest of the racing community for pooling their resources and getting out there. Greg Biffle is one of the first to do it. He's got a helicopter because all NASCAR drivers apparently do. And he was immediately up in the sky trying to get out there and do supply runs and pull people out, and that's a really cool thing. And it really warms my heart to see that whole community go out there and help out. Charlotte, like you said, did get spared, though they did get hit. They lost power in some areas. I don't know, further out west, in between there and the Blue Ridge, that a lot of people lost power, and some of our friends, didn't have power for a few days, and obviously that's a small inconvenience compared to what the folks up in the mountains are dealing with right now. And we don't even know, still don't know how bad it is, but just it's fucking awful. We'll definitely post some. There's so many different links and donation pages and shit like that, but we'll whittle some down and we'll post them on our page. So if you want to contribute to that, which you should, we'll make that easy for you here. But yeah, of course, thoughts and prayers and all that to everybody out there that's affected, because this is, we like I said, we don't even know how bad this is. Yeah.
Moving on to some better news. On Sunday, Bubba Wallace's wife, I should say, gave birth to
Bubba Wallace gave
son.
birth.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace gave birth. What the hell is the kid's name? Like Bex Hayden or something? Some weird name.
Yeah, Bex Hayden Wallace. I don't know how I feel about that. Bex just sounds like it's just a sound that you make.
I mean, it is.
The other day when I heard it, I just kept saying it over and over, and I was like, I can't imagine calling my child that for the rest of my life. Just Bex. Bex.
Yeah, congrats to Bubba. Apparently, they found out as they were about to get in the car.
Yeah.
And they kind of alluded to it on the radio and all that, and you could kind of tell that if you knew what was going on, that had probably happened. But I don't know where Bubba finished, but I'm sure he didn't give a fuck at that exact moment. 2311
had a terrible day. Him and Reddick both just god-awful.
Yeah, but good for him for sticking it out.
Yeah.
I guess.
Columbia did make some really cute little tiny replica fire suits that they sent over to him, so.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's cute.
Some little bit of silly season news.
Say it with me,
Bex. Little bit of silly season.
Bex. Someone said it sounds like what you call your sorority sister Becky, like her nickname.
Bex didn't do the dishes
see
again.
That. Yeah.
Bex got too drunk at the cotillion or whatever the fuck.
The cotillion.
I don't know what happens in Southern France, man. I never went to college.
Oh, Lord.
So moving on is a little bit of silly season news. Carson Kvapil was announced to be taking over the one ride for JRM,
sir.
which this is another one I wasn't really surprised by. I mean, I think he's performed pretty well in every single race he's been in that car, and obviously he does well. I guess he's done pretty much everything there is to do in the late models at this point, and
very quickly at that, yeah.
So it only makes sense to have him move up. So I'll be interested to see what that car does next year.
Yeah, I feel like people would be talking about him a lot more if it wasn't for. Oh wow, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
Connor Zilic.
There it is. There's too many C's.
I confused them the other week when I said that Connor was going to be in Carson was going to be in the 88, and it was Connor, and it's these fucking kids' names.
Exactly. Too many C's. But yeah, I think that Carson Kvapil's rise has been a little bit overshadowed by Connor Zilic coming in and doing what he's done. It's a tough position to be in when you're already really good, but then there's a fucking generational talent like in the same pipeline as you. But yeah, Carson definitely deserves this, and I'm excited to see what he does over at Junior's place because he can win.
Yeah.
It was announced, which I thought this was already announced, but the second season of NASCAR Full Speed on Netflix was officially announced this week. I love the first season. With today's news, I'm curious as to what will be in the show.
Not
for
featuring
season 2.
Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, or Michael Jordan.
Just Christopher Bell being a psychopath.
Yeah, my theory is it's just going to be Corey LaJoy, 6 episodes of him getting demoted from working the floor at Chili's to the dish pit. That's what I'd like to see.
We can only hope. And then from there, we got a little bit of Talladega news. So it was announced, or somebody caught this on Twitter this week, that on the Truck Series entry list, Grant Enfinger was listed as entering an Oldsmobile into the race. So he will be bringing out an Oldsmobile Bravada.
Yeah, 96 Bravada.
Very excited to see these rare trucks hit the track. No idea how that happened because Oldsmobile hasn't been in the series in at least 30 years, but that
probably
was cool.
qualified top 10 in an ARCA race in that fucker, so
probably fair. Also in Talladega news, so it was first announced that the cars were going to have this goofy like Lexan wing almost that was going to go from the windshield all the way to the back of the car to help keep the car on the ground. But I want to say yesterday there was I saw another tweet that NASCAR isn't going to do that, at least a portion that is going to be on the windshield. I think the rest of it's still going to be there, but they're also going to raise the spoiler and maybe something to do with the rocker panels.
and the
I could
front
be
ride height
completely
as
missing
well. Well, that video from the very speaking of cool names, Dr. Jacuzzi.
I couldn't even pay attention to the info he was trying to give me because I was just so enamored with his name.
Yeah. He's an aerodynamics expert. If you look at any sort of article about aerodynamics in NASCAR, particularly with Gen 7, you'll see Dr. Jacuzzi's name as well. But there's a reason why I don't know shit about this car, and it's probably because that fucker's name keeps popping up. I can't even keep it together right now.
They should have told him in school to change that name because nobody's going to fucking take you seriously.
Well, I started Googling to see if maybe he had something to do with the actual, like, Jacuzzi family.
It's just
because I think like engineering is kind of a place for you to end up from that legacy. Couldn't figure it out, just kept laughing. So they're also adding a little cloth flap to the roof flaps as well to sort of add a little bit more space for air to kind of run into and keep the car from flipping. So I mean, I still
we're still going to see a flip. I would put money. I'd put money on that for sure. If there's a prop bet for a Will car flip, I'm going all in.
Absolutely.
car.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom of the car is smooth. Like, if that thing gets a few inches off the ground, like, I don't think a little piece of fucking Joanne fabric is going to keep it from flying off the face of the earth. But
no, definitely
Dr. Jacuzzi seems to think it'll work, so I'm going to put my faith in him.
Jacuzzi Jetstream under one of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Then other Talladega news, I can see some paint scheme notes. There's going to be yet another Ricky Bobby paint scheme driven by Ryan Preece. Yeah. Great. I haven't seen that enough. And then I didn't see the Suarez Tootsie scheme.
Dude,
but,
this thing fucking rules. It's all black and like pink neon. If you're a spotter, this is your dream.
Black and neon pink is my color scheme. So
you'll love this one. It's impossible to look at in a JPEG form just because the pink is so intense. But yeah, I think there's going to be at least 3 or 4. I don't know who's sponsoring the SHR cars other than Wonder Bread for Ryan Preece, but I'm assuming the other 3 are all overstock cars that'll be painted exactly the same. So those SHR spotters are going to be wishing they were working for Trackhouse for more than one reason, I guess. But yeah, this thing is unmissable and it looks fucking sick.
Ross is going to have a camo Busch Light car.
Very good.
Sweet. And now, before we get to the biggest news, so Miss Truelove here, she is going to be going to Bowman Gray Stadium for the NASCAR. What are they going to call it now? It's not the All-Star race.
The Clash?
Clash.
The Clash. Okay, the Clash. The
Lord.
Clash. Yeah, listen, it's been a long day. It's going to be at Bowman Gray Stadium. Ashley's going, but Ashley, tell us.
Maybe.
First off,
Yeah, maybe.
let's give
Honestly, not
Truelove give Truelove a round of applause for actually getting through the digital gate here. I know it was quite a struggle. We're about to hear about it, but congratulations. Tell us all about how you got your maybe tickets.
Well, first of all, Meemaw doesn't like technology, and boy, ugh. So they had that thing where, like, whenever they announced it, you could sign up and pay your little deposit, and you would get put on the priority list to buy tickets first. So I did that.
Yeah, we did that for North Wilkesboro a
All-Star
couple
race,
years
right?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. My boyfriend did it. My friend Jeremy did it. My friend Josh did it. And then they were like, we'll send out info at the end of September about when you can buy your tickets. So I got my email, and they were like, okay, your pre-sale date is September 30th. And then my boyfriend got his, and they're like, your pre-sale date's October 7th. And I had a couple friends that it was just like different dates. We're like, okay. So mine and Jeremy's were both the 30th. So we decided to just go ahead and me and my boyfriend get ours the 30th too. So anyway, they were supposed to go on sale at 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. I'm on the website and nothing.
Ooh.
And I sat there and refreshed that website for 2 hours. Nothing.
Jesus Christ.
So by that time, my friend Jeremy was like, okay, I'm just going to call. So he called, and he was able to buy tickets through whatever little old lady sitting at the Bowman Gray box office. And so...
For all y'all?
No, he just got his, and then I got my boyfriend to call and get our tickets. So... I don't know. It's just been like a clusterfuck, but the actual website, I kept checking it just out of curiosity, and they never got it fixed until a full day after the pre-sale
Holy
started.
shit. There's only 10,000 tickets.
Yeah. Well, even after we bought our tickets on the phone, they sent us an email receipt saying this is the total amount you spent, but it never said anything about tickets. It doesn't say how many tickets you bought. It doesn't say anything specific. And I went to my Ticketmaster account, and there's no tickets in my account either. So
Ooh.
I just don't understand. It's always such a clusterfuck. North Wilkesboro a couple years was such a clusterfuck. So I don't know. And then Jeremy got a call today from some guy. Was like, I'd love to talk to you about picking out your Bowman Gray tickets. And Jeremy's like, I already bought my Bowman Gray tickets. Why don't you know that it should be in your system? So they just don't have their shit together. But if anyone is buying them in the next couple weeks, if there's any left, they're
A little insurance policy.
yeah. Right now they're only selling the 2-day tickets, and they range from $98 to $198. And then the single day tickets will go on sale, I think, the 15th.
Damn.
So
you're gonna go both
know, I
days?
just hope.
If you get in.
Yeah, I mean, we bought the 2-day, maybe, I guess, according to the person on the phone.
Hell
but
yeah. Yeah.
they just didn't give us specific seats. So if they sell our seats, then I don't know. I'm gonna be sitting in a stranger's lap because I bought the tickets first. So
Yeah. You got the receipt to prove it.
yeah.
Now, have they announced that the NASCAR modifieds are going to be there too?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I had heard that was, I don't know if that's just wishful thinking or how
Yeah.
reliable that is, but I had heard that the NASCAR modifieds are going to be there
Oh.
as well. So
I don't know. They didn't give us any information that was valuable, so
just a receipt.
we don't even know what 2-day tickets means. I'm assuming it means practice and qualifying or the heat races or whatever, but
Yeah.
they just wanted our money.
Well, they got it.
Anyway, that's my long rant about how much I hate technology.
Well, it's a good thing that NASCAR is trying to switch fully to Ticketmaster for next year. It's something to look forward to for all you folks.
Yep.
I mean, even at the big cup tracks, you know. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I should have had grandchildren to teach me how to use technology.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. This is where us older folks have a little bit of an advantage on the youth. A lot of these fucking kids find it impossible to make phone calls. Which, as much as I don't like talking to people, I can still get on the phone when I need to and get a call done. So, at the very least, we have that over them.
Yeah,
so,
if you want to spend a few $100 for Meemaw's retirement fund, not our Meemaw, but the one that's working the gate at Bowman Gray, give him a call.
Yeah. Miss, I don't know what her name is, probably Linda or something.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
well, with that NASCAR and money talk, let's get into the big news of the day. We were all curious as to what it meant when 2311 and Front Row Motorsports refused to sign the charter agreement a few weeks ago, and we all learned what that meant today when the two teams filed a antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR. Now, for those of you who didn't necessarily pay as much attention as I did today, this is more than just a charter agreement deal. This is everything having to do with NASCAR basically controlling just about every aspect of the sport, from owning the majority of the tracks, the tickets. The one thing that I learned today, which I somehow didn't know, even though the teams buy the parts and the cars and everything, NASCAR still owns the cars.
Yeah, they're like, kind of on lease like the old kart cars were.
Yeah, which is mind-blowing. And as part of this charter agreement, the teams had to sign away their IP rights, which is a huge deal. More people should be paying attention to that. And also, they had to agree that they would not put up this type of lawsuit against NASCAR. So, big surprise that that's exactly what these two teams did. Mm-hmm. And if you, I know a lot of people in the sport recognize this as a very historic day, and I think personally it's probably the most historic day in NASCAR since the day Dale died. For those who are unaware, this has not been attempted by anyone in NASCAR as far as challenging the head office. This hasn't happened in 50-something years.
And it didn't go well the last time it was tried either.
I mean, you look back at the 69 Talladega race that the drivers tried to strike and unionize over, and Bill France ran the race anyways. And then also Curtis Turner also tried, and he was one of the sport's biggest stars. He tried to get the Teamsters involved, and he was banned for life from NASCAR.
By the way, that was all mentioned in this lawsuit.
Yes, it was. And, the other big, huge aspect of this lawsuit is, yes, obviously you've got two big teams working together. You've got Michael Jordan and all of his billions of dollars behind this. But what they did was get a guy named Jeremy or Jerry Kessler. Jeffrey Kessler, who he is a very, very, very important antitrust lawyer. He's the one who got the NFL players deal. He got the women's soccer team equal pay.
He's essentially the Michael Jordan of sports law. Yeah,
he is. If you were going to go up for this battle, they picked the guy to do it. And the big question is NASCAR actually going to take this to trial? Because if they do, that means they have to open up their financial documents, which they had refused to do, so much so they won't even tell people what drivers get paid out in Victory Lane anymore.
Yep.
They don't announce ticket attendance, all sorts of revenue. None of it's discussed. And NASCAR will have to do this if this case goes to trial. So it really remains to be seen. I mean, it's going to be a wild next few weeks and months to see how this plays out. But
I mean, years, honestly. This is not going to happen quickly, I don't think.
It could be a big, long battle because, the two teams are still planning on running. Both of them have purchased charters that are, in limbo because of this.
Yeah, I guess they're being held in escrow by NASCAR because the deals haven't been completed yet. And they're both being bought by SHR, one for each team. Again, the driver's not officially announced yet, but yeah, this is very, very fucking crazy news.
It really is, and it's I would say the majority of people that I either spoke to or saw tweets and responses online about, most people are on the team's side here because while, okay, yes, this is rich people fighting over more money, you can say that, but you can also look back and think of why Dale Earnhardt Jr. doesn't have a team, why Furniture Row isn't around anymore. It's because these teams, even at the highest level, don't actually make a profit. And that's because NASCAR is keeping the majority of the money. And even though this charter agreement was supposed to give teams a bigger revenue shares, with the TV deals and all that stuff, it's still not nearly enough. And again, when you factor in the IP rights and the car ownership and all that stuff, it's a lot. And I think it's only fair that the teams get their fair share, because we want to see this sport continue to grow and prosper. And I think NASCAR's done a decent job of kind of holding some people back because it's so expensive to get into the sport. I mean, we're long past the days of teams just showing up for whatever race they want to and entering. If you don't have a charter, there's almost no point in entering some of these races, or any races really. So it's a big deal, and it's a bummer to see a lot of the older fans and some of the older industry members come out on the side of NASCAR. The big thing that I saw today was Larry McReynolds pushing back and saying, how a team that's only been around for 4 years wants to come in and change how NASCAR does business. Well, it's not the 60s anymore.
Well, that's also what these negotiations are about. It's quite literally about how NASCAR is run and the team's place in that marketplace. So I get.
He's acting like Hamlin hasn't been in the sport for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
he came from nothing also. Like, he wasn't a rich kid that fucking somebody bought a ride for him. Like, again, you can say what you want about Denny's personality, but he made it from the bottom and is investing all that he has back into the sport. So when someone at his level is taking on this fight, it should mean a lot to all the fans and other people within the industry.
Well, also sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like everyone I saw today online that was pro NASCAR in this scenario, it was just because they're Hamlin haters. Like, if it had been anyone else.
And I tweeted that, like, if Dale Jr. was the one that did this, I'm sure all those fucking people that are shitting on Denny would change their tune completely. Go ahead.
I'm sure there's a large amount of people who are also primarily NASCAR fans when it comes to motorsports. And this is kind of a scary time if that's your position, because this is the racing you watch. And I don't expect this to be the case, but there is a possibility that things could split up in a way that, and this is, again, probably not going to happen, but I mean, I grew up in the era of the CART IRL split, and that destroyed IndyCar racing. Yeah. And this also has some potential to kind of spiral into that. And I know that a lot of industry folks are probably thinking about the ramifications of such a lawsuit and getting the feds involved and all that shit that could spiral through the entire industry. So, like, I'm sympathetic to that. But, yeah, I think the best analysis I saw in all of this, and it really kind of cut through a lot of the fat, at least with what we know right now. I haven't read the lawsuit, the actual document that's been posted, which everyone can see. Apparently, it's quite a read. But my favorite reaction to this was the Couch Racer account, which, of course, is Brett Griffin and Freddie Kraft, both spotters. One of them a 2311 employee, and, of course, they have their own little thing on the side from DBC where they sell T-shirts that talk shit. And their response was, to Larry Mack in particular, his opinion about all of this was, why don't you go ask Richard Childress and Joe Gibbs how much they paid for their charters? Which is $0, and then go ask
zeros.
Then swing on over to Spire and ask them how much they paid for theirs, and talk to Denny about how much money he put into this. So, like, to me, that kind of cuts to the core of who kind of landed on which side of this whole thing. Because Front Row is currently buying charters. I think they've even bought charters in the past. Yeah, because they didn't get both of theirs as part of the original agreement. And, 2311 wasn't around when that happened. So they're spending a lot of money and about to spend a lot more money to be a part of this thing. So, yeah, when you've got, 8 digits on the table just to have a shot at the revenue share here, of course you're gonna fucking sue them. Of course.
And
Why wouldn't you?
we also got to look back at when the agreements got signed. Like, a lot of those teams didn't really want to, and you know, a lot of them were just, you know, they were afraid of losing their charters. I mean, I listened. There was an emergency teardown today, and Jordan Bianchi said, you know, he wouldn't say which team owner, but he said he talked to a team owner who said, I wish I had the balls to do what they did because I was afraid of losing my charters. That's why they had to sign. And those guys also did mention that other teams could potentially join in on the lawsuit, even though they'd already signed the charter agreement. But
yeah, well, what did fucking BJ McLeod sell his charter for again? 42 million?
30, yes, something like that.
Yeah, so
30,
much
40
money.
million.
Well, let's say 30 just to be conservative here. If I'm Rick Hendrick and I've got 4 of these fuckers and the market value is between 20 and 30 million, you better believe I'm going to sign that agreement because that investment, I paid nothing. Obviously, there's, you know, all the sweat equity and money you've spent to be a part of the sport from the beginning, but like, that's a huge piece of why the charters exist in the first place. So if a team decides they want to get out of the sport completely or, you know, in increments, they actually get a return on investment. And all these teams that have been around for so long that were part of the initial agreement, like, they're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars potentially. So, yeah, sue the shit out of them, you know? or from the point of Rick Hendrick or Joe Gibbs, like, I would also have signed the agreement because I'm not going to give away, you know, that amount of money.
Yeah. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like, as interested as I am in this story and how it's going to play out, like, I also kind of feel like one of those dickhead fantasy football guys that is like overanalyzing players on field percentages and stuff when like they really have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, now you see why so many people like Formula One, because that's all Formula One is this shit.
I guess, man. I mean, like, I like drama as much as the next person, but you know, I'm glad this is hopefully the only time we're gonna have to deal with this because it's a crazy story and it's gonna be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But it's gonna be very stressful. It's gonna be stressful for fans, for team members, for drivers, for, you know, people in the head office. Like, it's gonna be crazy. So you know, buckle in, folks. We just started the ride.
Yeah,
so.
we've been sounding the alarm bells all year that something was going to happen or could happen, and that moment has arrived.
I will say
your
though,
Hans device.
Yep, put your Hans devices on, and true love, get your Crocs out because it's about to rain.
I will say though, this announcement was just incredible Darth bait because I can't even tell you how many stupid things that I saw from people that just really have no idea what they're talking about or what the lawsuit's about or anything. They're just, and I found a very, very good one. So Adam Stern was tweeting about this, and the tweet was, asked whether 2011 may exit NASCAR if it doesn't get the result it's looking for. Curtis Polk let Jeffrey Kessler answer, they're going to do their best to keep competing as long as they can, and we expect it to end in a legal victory or settlement that transforms this sport. Replied by Edward Finley 63F, beware NHRA, World of Outlaw Late Models, Lucas Dirt Oil Series, High Limit Racing, the be coming for you next. Which I don't know.
Ominous.
And then we get a response from a guy named JC Norgard. The fact that you tagged 2 National Touring Late Model Series and one of the 2 National Touring Sprint Car Series should tell you that there is not a monopoly in either sport, which is very true. And also drag racing too. There's still IHRA also.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's this is the only motorsport where there's like an actual monopoly. So
well, it's worth noting that High Limit did kind of get born out of a similar deal. A lot of like Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet were looking to change the face of sprint car racing and get it away from it being a monopoly with the World of Outlaws, and they did so by buying the All-Star Circuit of Champions and shutting down that series, and which is a shame, but. Yeah, I mean, he's not terribly far off from that in the biggest stretch imaginable. But yeah, when you name the 2 tours that exist out there for late models and say that someone's coming for them, which I don't know who the fuck that is. The boogeyman is coming. I don't know. Fuck. Yeah, that's our dart for the week, for sure.
Yeah.
And his sentence is to watch 15 hours of Matlock with his eyes taped open, like that scene in what's that fucking movie, Clockwork Orange?
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll figure out some laws that way for sure.
Oh yeah.
But with that, that'll be the end of the charter lawsuit discussion for the week.
True Love, you got anything you want to add to that before we move on? I know you're probably glazing over there on the crime procedural here.
Be pulling extra hard for Reddick and Hamlin in the championship run here.
Yeah, I've never wanted Denny Hamlin to win a championship more than at this moment.
Yeah. So we'll see how many phantom cautions come out while Hamlin's leading.
Yeah, they better set their tachometers extra low for pit road because they're going to be too fast entering, exiting on every fucking segment every week from here on out.
Well, hey, it's already been mentioned that if any shady shit like that happens, that is getting added right to the lawsuit. So NASCAR's got to be on their toes too with that stuff.
Yeah.
But with that, it's time to dive into the septic tank.
That's right, folks. Come on in and close the door. It's the Short Track Septic Tank, brought to you by the single Modelo I have in my refrigerator that I'm about to pop open here for this segment. Unfortunately, a ton of short track racing got rained out this weekend due to the hurricane. Obviously, that's the least of anyone's concerns. But all the Lucas Oil shows, High Limit, and the World of Outlaws all canceled as a result, and a bunch of other places. So that's a bummer as we get to the end of the season. Again, it's small potatoes in comparison to what the folks in the Blue Ridge are going through right now, but still, it does suck to see that. We did get to see a lot of pavement racing this weekend. The biggest show, of course, down at Martinsville, the Valleydale 300, of course, the biggest late model show of the year, and a NASCAR sanctioned one at that. Carson Quapple picked up the win there and took home a big-ass grandfather clock, such as tradition. And the guy from Valleydale called him Travis in Victory Lane, which is pretty funny. Everyone just kind of smirked and let it slide. Of course, his dad is Travis Quapple, so...
That would help me, since he's teammates with Connor now, to change it to Travis.
Actually, that's a petition I think I'd like to start. Just if we could get him to be Travis Jr., that would definitely help my brain out, because there's only...
looks like a Travis Jr.
He could be a Travis Jr. What's his middle name? I guess we'll never know.
I'll Google it while you're in the tank.
But that was a good show. Martinsville is that late model race is always killer, and it's one of the ones that gets NASCAR's attention. Of course, obviously they sanction it, but MRN also covers it. It's just a big fucking deal.
His middle name's Wade.
Wade Quapple.
I don't like that.
Well, that ain't better than 20th place. Carson it is. Speaking of messes, up here at Stafford, the fall final with the Monaco Tri-Track Modifieds ripped on Saturday night. Total fucking shit show right from the beginning. Ron Silk wrecks on lap 0, and that just sets off a Craftsman Truck Series level race for the rest of the night, which Matt Hirschman ended up winning, got $15,000 for his troubles after Anthony Onicella tried to clear himself on one of the 6,000 restarts at the end. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking, but he definitely wrecked himself, and Hirschman just kind of let him do it. Hirschman also kind of jumped the start at the end, but it doesn't matter. He's got the check, and I think they were just ready to shut that shit down, and no one's surprised to see Matt Hirschman win. Yet another check for the old wall and for the bank account there. Over in the dirt world, the BC39 did run. Obviously, it got affected by rain on Friday and Saturday. It ended up running both the Friday and Sunday shows. Friday and Saturday shows on Sunday. Cannon McIntosh taking home the trophy there. Really emotional win for old Can't Drive Cannon, as Thomas Meserol would call him. Cale Drake picked up the Friday night prelim win. That was run on Sunday. Big win for him as well. And then Chase McDermott picked up the win on Thursday. Also, the debut of USAC Sprint cars, the big 410 wingless cars out there on Thursday night for the Stoops Invitational. CJ Larry got a big win there. No surprises. But, man, sprint cars on that track are so fucking cool. It looks kind of like a Ventura or some other like little ass bull ring where they're just completely sideways in the corner and just they back it in there. And man, I hope they do more of that. Of course, BC39 held up the dirt track in the middle of Indianapolis Motor Speedway in memory of Brian Clausen. So a real emotional weekend all around. And Indy does a great job with that racetrack. And I know that having 2 days of rain fucking sucks, but they managed to pull it off, and good for them for doing so. Speaking of the sprint car world, Dason Pursley is making the switch to 410s next year with Busch Motorsports. This is going to be replacing Justin Peck. This will be his first full-time campaign in a 410 sprint car. Dason, of course, winning 2 out of 3 features at Eldora for the 4 Crown. He's a big-time shoe. I'd watch out for this kid. I don't know if there's any pavement or I don't want to say bigger because I view dirt racing on equal terms with everything else, but I don't know if there's any sort of NASCAR or IndyCar related stuff on his radar. But if I were a team owner, I'd be keeping my eye on Dason because he is a fucking shoe. Over on the late model side, World of Outlaws did get their races in down south. Ryan Gustin won the Bayou Classic down at Boot Hill and got the sickest fucking trophy of the whole year. This thing's got a gator head on it. It fucking rules. I'll try and find a picture of it for the Instagram post. But Ryan Gustin continuing a very, very good year for him. I've gassed him up on the show before, and he's continuing to prove me right here. On Saturday night, Brian Shirley picked up a big win at Rocket, and that leads us pretty much to the end of the season here. The next race for the World of Outlaws late models is going to be at the World Finals, which I'll be at for at least 2 of those nights. Right now, Brandon Shepard, Bobby Pierce, and Nick Hoffman are separated by 50 points, which is fucking sick. How about that shit? Over on the Lucas Oil side of things, East Bay, of course, that track has announced that it was being sold earlier in the year, and they were going to do one last big celebration, sort of goodbye race here with the Lucas Oil late models, but that got canceled due to heavy rains, which is a damn shame. They're already putting that track up for auction. It's not coming back. So if you guys want to buy like a pizza machine or a forklift or some shit like that, we'll post the link for it because there's some cool stuff for sale. But East Bay, one of the best racetracks in the South, man. It really sucks to see that place go with the big old graffiti on the backstretch wall, and just I know that was a big part of the Speed Weeks experience for folks, and yeah, it just nobody wants to see another racetrack shut down, especially one as good as East Bay. So rest in peace. Wish we would have had one more run there, but it is what it is. In its place, the canceled show at Brownstown is going to be taking its place on the schedule for the Lucas Oil Tour because they've been hit by rain a lot too. They canceled shows at Atomic, and I believe there's one more. So they have a chase system as well. It's supposed to be 7 races, but those are all slowly getting deleted by rain. So at this rate, it looks like we're going to end up having the finale at Eldora anyway. So kind of is what it is. But yeah, that'll be taking its place on the schedule. I believe the weekend is October 12th. Yeah, what a bummer. Speaking of races getting canceled again because of weather, the North Wilkesboro NASCAR Modified Tour race has been, I don't know if it's been postponed or just completely canceled, but they are not running it this weekend to not take EMS focus away from the situation out west in Carolina, which I think is a very smart and thoughtful move. Yeah. So good for them. Hopefully that gets back on the schedule. I don't know when it would happen, just based on the calendar. They're at Thompson the week after, and then they just roll right on through the rest of the season. So hopefully they find a way to get that back on the schedule, but if not, still the right call. You don't want to take first responders away from a situation like what we're seeing out there. Upcoming this weekend, there's a decent amount of racing. Again, we're kind of getting down to the end of the season for a lot of places. A lot of tracks having their championship night, Stafford being one of them. The Lucas Oil late models are going to the Pittsburgher at PPMS. That'll be a fun show, especially since a lot of these races are getting rained out. It just puts way more focus on the championship battle between the championship 4, of course, RTJ, Devin Moran, Jonathan Davenport, and Tim McCready there. It's anybody's race at this point, even though I still have my money on Jonathan Davenport. Also, the Thunder Road Milk Bowl is happening. That's the biggest late model race in Vermont. I don't know if the governor still races up there, but sometimes he pops in and runs the big shows there. And, of course, World of Outlaws over at Williams Grove. That's going to be a big show. Pretty much everybody on Earth is going to be there. And that's one of the last World of Outlaws shows before the finals. And, yeah, like I said, we're at the end of the year. It fucking sucks. Hate to see it. I'm so pissed off.
Flying by.
But as I've said for the past, 6 weeks on the show, I will be at the World Finals. Sounds like Brian might be at the World Finals. Sounds like True Love might be at the World Finals. Come on. And our guest last week, Kyle, he's going to be at the World Finals. Former guest Kyle Armstrong is going to be at the World Finals. Matthew Dillner should be at the World Finals. If you've listened to this show, Andy Newsom's going to be there, for fuck's sake. Come on, let's go, folks. It's the last show of the year. We got to do it. But I'll see you down there no matter what. What's that?
There's an Applebee's near the.
There
track,
is an
right?
Applebee's very close.
Yeah, I think we'd have to go to
Family
Applebee's.
dinner night.
It'll be
Then
our
you can
first.
pop on over to Chili's to see Corey.
Well, someone's got to come in 31st at Phoenix that weekend because I believe that's still championship weekend. But
Yes, it is.
yeah, that's the short track septic tank for this weekend. Again, it gets. I was gonna say it gets short every weekend, but I feel like that one went longer than normal. But yeah, we're running out of racing here. Fucking sucks, but make sure you watch it while you got it, and let's flush this thing on down. Bubbled. Yeah.
From the short tracks to the biggest one,
sir.
now it's time to talk about the 1996 Die Hard 500 from Talladega. So, friend of the show, Phil Alloway, who is the front stretch TV analyst, and the kid I grew up watching races with, actually texted me after listening to the show to give me a little bit of insight as to what happened with the broadcast of this race. So, what happened was, the race was rain delayed, and because this is 1996, they didn't just switch over to another network like they do now. CBS, they lost their time slot on CBS, so they switched over to golf. And what happened was they did end up actually running the race, and they ended up showing it a week later after the Brickyard 400, like the Sunday after the Brickyard 400. And also, I guess the local CBS affiliate in Alabama, they somehow embargoed the crash footage, so no other network could show the footage for a full 24 hours. So like we saw the first images we saw of the Earnhardt wreck were in our local newspaper. So it was a very weird situation where, the most famous driver in NASCAR is injured in a wreck and nobody can fucking see the footage because the race wasn't broadcast live. So this video that I found was the actual delayed broadcast that was shown the week later. So start to finish, it's only about 2 hours. And from watching the whole thing, what I gathered was a lot of the like interstitial videos or like behind the scenes stuff. It seems like all of those got cut out because all we see here in this video is just all the actual on-track footage that they filmed. You can kind of clearly tell when they go to some of the commercial breaks and when there's different edits and stuff where Ken Squire comes back in and does voiceovers. Like you can tell that the volume of his voice is a bit different.
It's very, very cleanly edited. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But in saying that, it wasn't even a full race, in total. Like it was cut down from 188 laps to 129 because of the rain delay itself, and also because of the wrecks that delayed the race so much, which we'll get to. Obviously, they ended up cutting it at 129 laps. But so really, this race starts off absolute killer broadcast team. You've got Ned Jarrett, Ken Squire, and Buddy Baker in the booth. You've also got Mike Joy and David Hobbs as pit reporters. So one of the best possible broadcast teams you could have.
Yeah, what else do you need?
The race starts off. We've got Jeremy Mayfield. It's his first ever Cup Series pole with Jeff Gordon.
We didn't
on
even
the front
mention
row.
him in the lawsuit.
Oh yeah, Mayfield tweeted. We should say Mayfield is ready to testify in this antitrust lawsuit.
I was saying to y'all earlier, can you fucking imagine? Can you
I'd be so
imagine
happy.
if his testimony helped bring NASCAR down? What a fucking wild story that would be.
I really hope they bring him in.
Son bitch was right.
But
Anyway.
Going back to the race. So again, we've got Mayfield and Gordon on the front row. Again, this is an old school race, so you've got each driver's portrait and then their car underneath them as they're scrolling through the whole field, which I love those.
Yes.
42 cars in the field, and the only one that didn't make it was Chad Little. This brings us to our first commercial break, and I'll try to go through these pretty quick because a lot of these ads get repeated throughout the show. First commercial break, you've got a Die Hard ad, which this one I remember pretty vividly as a kid. It's kind of a montage of fans and how many races they've been to. It's basically Die Hard being like we stand behind NASCAR and we're with the races with you guys and whatnot.
The ironic thing about it, especially in light of today's news, I'm glad we ended up recording today and not yesterday so we could mention this, was they mentioned all of the MLB lockouts, how there's no court or any bullshit like that.
So yeah, for those who don't remember, also in '94 there was a massive MLB strike, which there was no World Series that year, and I mean there was a bunch of different NASCAR shirts and promotions put out, like we never strike. Like I definitely have a shirt like all balls no strikes on it or something like that.
That's fucking sick.
But yeah, that's the first commercial ad kind of references that stuff that was going on. Then there's McDonald's ad where for some reason there's a kids marathon, and then all the kids are running and they see McDonald's and they all just get out of the marathon and go to McDonald's. Then you get a Bosch spark plugs and Valvoline oil, a lot of automotive ads and a lot of racing ads. The one thing I was bummed out, there were pretty much no local TV ads. Like that's one of my favorite parts of watching old broadcasts. Like, yeah, these commercials are cool, but I like seeing the really weird local ones that are only shown a couple times, but really none of those in this broadcast.
Will say, and I think True Love, you can agree with this, all of these commercials are deeply embedded in my brain. And like every time one popped, because this was the sort of genesis of my fandom here, definitely like the peak of my childhood fandom.
Yeah,
and
same.
I know these. They're in there. And I didn't realize they were, but they fucking are.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a kid growing up in Georgia, there's a lot of 1996 Atlanta Olympic commercials throughout this too.
Of course. That makes sense. So yeah, now the race is starting. Starts off, they mentioned Darrell Waltrip's got a fast car. And also Ernie Irvan, he's obviously fast. I mean, the Yates cars were always good at the restricted plate tracks, and both those guys moving up the field fairly quickly. Dale Earnhardt gets the lead pretty early and has it for a good portion of the race. Unfortunately, at the other end of the field, his quote-unquote best friend, Michael Waltrip, is having issues. I guess he had a bad motor to start the race off with, and his day is done pretty much before it starts. And then the only other thing that was really noted in these first 20 laps is Bobby Hamilton has to make a pit stop for a vibration, and that puts him a lap down pretty early. And that brings us to the next commercial break. There's a Ford Mustang ad featuring Mr. Ed.
This is one of the ones that was decalcified in my brain.
Then there's AutoZone featuring NASCAR sanctioned brake pads, mobile ad, and then Desinex athlete's foot medicine with a worker on his construction site with itchy feet.
Yeah, that guy's going through it in that ad. He's really going through the shit in that ad.
Yeah.
Big old red foot.
We come back at lap 23 with Dale still leading, and I guess we can talk about this now. For those who weren't fans or haven't seen a whole lot of old races like this, I mean, the Talladega and plate races, they'd start off in packs, but then they'd kind of get strung out a bit. And this is kind of what happens here. I mean, ends up being a couple different packs of cars running single file, and then some in the back running, side by side. There is passing, but it's not at all like the drafting and stuff we've seen the last 15, 20 years, I would say.
Oh, God, not even close. Yeah.
No. The first accident happens, and it's Rick Mast spinning and getting stuck in a puddle. As we mentioned, it just rained at the track, and the Buddy Baker surmises that the puddle actually slowed him down and caused less damage to the car, which I could actually see, but it also led to him getting stuck. So we also see here something we don't see anymore. Drivers racing back to the caution, which really they weren't not too many of them were doing. Bobby Hamilton was just trying his hardest to get his lap back, and that did not happen.
There's definitely more of a gentleman's agreement back in the day to kind of cool it down, and everyone holds position. In some cases, anyway. This is one of those.
I had noted that Ken Schrader had a very patriotic scheme, and at first I couldn't remember why, and then I quickly realized, oh, it's because of the Olympics, because there's multiple Olympic ads throughout this show.
Yep.
Isn't it like a zebra print Budweiser car?
Stripies.
It's red and white stripes, kind of like American flag stripes.
They were zebra though. They were.
I'm gonna have to pull this car up, and we'll have to we'll put it in the photos.
Add it to the lawsuit.
I definitely remember him having like a zebra print hat.
Well, then Zubaz was the thing back then, so he might have had. I remember him with a skull Zubaz hat, but I don't know about a Budweiser.
I kind of took it as the waving flag.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You know, yeah. Which is zebra-esque. Y'all are both right.
Let's see. The next commercial break, we got Big A Auto Parts. That one Kellogg's commercial from 1994 with the driver that doesn't know what the cornflakes are. They show that ad for like 7 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's a Texaco gas one. They're the official gas supplier for the Olympics. An Aleve ad with a dad with a bad back. And a 60 Minutes ad featuring a Parkinson's riddled Muhammad Ali. After the break, we are at lap 30 for the restart, and Dale Earnhardt takes the lead pretty quickly from Dale Jarrett, with Wally Dallenbach in the Hayes Modems 15 Bud Moore car behind him. Eventually, the Yates team end up teaming up and getting past Dale. Then all of a sudden, they start piping Larry Mack in. But he's like just saying fucking nonsense. Like nobody knows what the hell he's saying. They later clarify
just like today.
Yeah. They later clarify that he's talking to like the transporter driver about folding down the satellite dish on the bus or something. Like very strange. Like I thought that he was talking in code to Ernie.
He was talking about. I forget exactly what he said, but it was like, make sure you fold the dish in before you bring it in. I'm just trying to make it easier for y'all. That's it. Yeah. And then, of course, they give the rundown of the types of motorhomes in the lot, and it's really good. By the way, I sorry to cut in here, but I just saw an image of Ken Schrader's car on the screen. It is, in fact, a patriotic scheme. There is a blue band towards the bottom of the car. With stars, and then it is in fact the waving flag. But like I said, it does look like a zebra. So you guys are both right. But it is patriotic. So
Okay.
Continue, please.
Patriotic
from
safari.
From here, Sterling Marlin makes his way back into the front. Obviously Sterling and the Morgan McClure car were very strong at the plate tracks in this era. He had a bunch of different wins at Daytona and Talladega. Next commercial break, spark plugs again. There is a cool Dale and Ned Jarrett Ford Quality Care pit stop ad, which I liked. That same Die Hard ad again, which we'll see probably 17 times. And then there's a Budweiser, the first of a couple Bud Clydesdale ads. This one is like the Clydesdales getting bathed in the barn. Then all of a sudden, Ken Schrader just barrels through the fucking barn in his car.
On a zebra.
And the other note that I had from this ad is the voiceover guy goes, the Ken Schrader Budweiser stock car, which I thought it was very interesting for them to specify stock car. And I noticed there was also a Rusty Wallace MGD ad where they also say stock car. And I don't know why this was a beer ad thing that they had to specify as a fucking stock car. But anyways, just a weird little thing that I noticed.
Put it in the lawsuit.
I always, just add it to the lawsuit. I always took it as the fact that IndyCar was so big at that time too.
Well, yeah, they did also. I know there were like IndyCar ads that were pretty much the same ads, just with the car switched out. So I guess that's probably why they did that. From here, we pick it back up at lap 44 with, again, Jeff Gordon, Dale, and Mark Martin following Sterling and eventually getting past him. You see Bobby Hamilton up front there trying to get his lap back. Here's one that you guys will have a comment on. Buddy comments that fans don't need seats at Talladega because they've been standing the whole time. We'd all be fucking pissed at that, for sure.
If we're all standing for the entire time, and there was something
I
we're
don't want to
standing
stand the
for.
whole time.
I'm tired.
Jesus Christ, man. A lot of walking at these races.
That's true. Talladega is a very big
Especially
place.
Talladega. Remember that time I walked 2 miles holding a plate of cheese fries?
I do.
Yes. And then from here, the teams are beginning to worry about the potential glare issues because they started the race so late, which it's funny to think about that now when all the fucking races start at 3 o'clock, whereas this race was probably supposed to start at like 12:30.
I didn't even think about that.
And the last note before the commercial is DW is up there running the top 10, so which I believe he finished in the top 10, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. Next commercial break, there's the first of many Goodyear Infinitread radial tires, which offered a lifetime guarantee. That's fucking insane for tires. Like car tires should not last forever. There's a Buick Open ad for the golfing. This is the only like local ad that was shown for Metro Detroit 62 promoting their syndicated episodes of Seinfeld and Mad About You. And then probably one of my favorite weird ads of the show that was shown a couple times for Home Pride Wheat Bread, showing a guy sanding down his boat with a slice of bread, which I eat wheat bread all the time. Barely tastes any different to me. So I don't know why people apparently hated wheat bread back in the day.
I grew up on that brand, man.
And did you ever sand down a boat with it?
Oh yeah, we did all sorts of work with that around the house.
We come back from the break and they're under caution, but I don't think they ever mentioned why. It must have been for debris or something because like they never showed any replays or anything, so we're just under caution. So they do show probably one of the only videos they show throughout this broadcast of Cale Yarborough, Ernie Irvin, and Alan Kawicki getting inducted into the Talladega Hall of Fame. And Cale quickly recounts a story of getting initiated as an honorary Alabama gang member by the Allison family.
That was cool.
From here, we're at lap 62 with Mark Martin leading. Dale eventually gets it back. Buddy Baker utters this line, "It just don't get prettier than this." What was he referring to? It was a shot of Dale Earnhardt out of Mark Martin's bumper. I don't know if there's probably things that are prettier than that, buddy. And then we see Sterling, Terry Labonte, and Dale go 3 wide for the lead, going to the next commercial break. Commercial 6, Haviland Oil, Bosch Spark Plugs. There is a Daytona USA ad, which for those who don't remember that place, that was like a attraction at Daytona Speedway, which is open until I think the late 2000s. That's where the Victory or Daytona 500 winners car would go every year. It was kind of like a smaller version of the NASCAR Hall of Fame with maybe a little less historical elements to it, but it was cool. I did get to go once as a kid. I think it's still there in some way, but they don't really. It's not open to the public anymore. I think just the area with a winner's car. You can go check that out. And then there's a really cool Napa commercial featuring Ron Hornaday and Dale Earnhardt. Ron is testing the truck and Dale is on the radio, and Dale announces to Ron that his wife called and said something about an anniversary, which Ron immediately stops the truck. All the decals fly off the truck, and then he goes off the track to go and get a present for his wife.
That was great.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorites. We're back at lap 75 with Sterling in the lead. They're once again piping Larry in, which, again, horrible. Like, just doesn't do anything to help the broadcast. This is where...
Y'all want Bojangles for lunch?
This is where the field kind of gets separated. There's like the top 11 cars are running in a single file line, and then there are like 2 other small packs behind them. We cut to Mike Joy interviewing Jimmy Means, who was crew chiefing for Wally Dallenbach, who was driving crusty old Bud Moore's, his words, number 15 car.
Ford.
Next commercial break, there's one for the Ford Truckathlon, featuring Ford Rangers doing Olympic events. A Dale Earnhardt Busch Beer ad for their Great Tracks can promotion featuring Darlington. Another Big A ad, another Valvoline ad, and another Goodyear ad. Back at lap 85, Larry Mack is announcing to Ernie. They're 8 laps to halfway. We see Jeff Purvis in the wall. Dale and Ernie are fighting for the lead with Jeff Gordon. Larry is asking Ernie over the radio if he had led a lap yet, which he hadn't. And then we see a shot of some woman in the crowd just screaming, "Go Gordon!" And then Dale Jarrett and Lake Speed to get together, and Dale barely keeps it straight, but is able to get back on track and not wreck. Gordon is the leader at halftime and gets a $10,000 bonus. That's something that doesn't happen anymore. Now we just get points. Who the fuck cares about those?
Kyle Larson does right now.
Yeah. Next commercial break, we get another the Dale Jarrett pit stop ad again, an Advil ad with a stressed out TV producer, and then Autolite spark plugs. Back at lap 97, we see Ward Burton hot on Dale's heels. And then here's another quote from Ken Squire. At 190 miles per hour, they just don't quit. The boys just want to have fun. That just made me laugh.
So good.
Like just a funny way to describe racing. Speaking of Ward Burton, though, David Hobbs reporting that Ward has a burnt foot. Which again just really made me laugh. Like,
needs some of that athlete's foot powder or cream or fucking whatever that was from earlier in the show.
Well, and Buddy is with his brilliant driver insight, saying that it's not the concern right now. He's fighting for the lead. He doesn't give a shit about his foot. Lap 103 is the first big one. Now there are 2, but this is the first one. 13 cars. We get Ricky Rudd, Dick Trickle, Ted Musgrave, Hut Strickland, Jerry Mayfield, Bobby Hillen, Johnny Menson, John Andretti, Joe Nemechek, Brett Bodine, Loy Allen, and Lake Speed are all involved when John Andretti just fucking loses it. He straight up admits that in his post-race interview that he just lost it in turn 3 and took out a huge pile of cars. From there, we get a replay that shows John Andretti getting loose. Dale Jarrett and Darrell Waltrip is able to weave his way through. Brings us to a next ad. We get a Head & Shoulders commercial. George Foreman pushing the Meineke credit card. There's a David Letterman ad listing off all his popular guests of the week. One for a TV show called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, starring Scott Bakula, which I do not remember at all.
No, Scott doesn't either.
Yeah. Detroit Lions season ticket ad, and then that Wheat Toast ad again, and one for Mad About You. Dick Trickle, they get an interview with him as we come back from the break. He said he was just bebopping around, and
classic.
he was surrounded
Dick
by
Trickle quote. I forgot
he was
about
surrounded
that.
by idiots out there. Just a great interview. Like anytime Dick was on TV, it was worth watching.
I use that in my regular vocabulary because of that interview. Just bebopping around.
Just bebopping around. Here we see the John Andretti apologetic interview. Because, he just straight up admitted he lost it and fucked up. And at lap 108, we go to the next commercial break, which it's all ones we've seen, except for there's a Ford Racing ad where they show all their current race cars, but then at the very end, they reveal the gross-ass, bug-eyed Ford Taurus. So many good-looking Fords, and then they put out that fucking thing. Just awful. And here is when all the big stuff happens. We restart at lap 111. We see Mark Martin and Ward Burton up front. And here is one thing I noticed. Ken mistakenly says that Ward is battling for his first Cup victory, which is untrue because he actually won Rockingham the year before. So I don't know who gave him that info, but he fucked that up. Earnhardt gets the lead back while Ernie and Dale Jarrett are creeping back up. And lap 117 is the big wreck. So Ernie Irvin is in third, and he's on the apron of the track. And what happened was he was too close to the apron, got a little loose, got into Sterling Marlin, who spun Dale. Dale went head on into the wall. He was hit by Derek Cope and Ken Schrader, while all the other cars were wrecking behind him. There were 16 cars involved. Ward Burton, Sterling Marlin, Brett Bodine, Ricky Craven, Ken Schrader, Dallenbach, Sachs, Cope, Terry Labonte, Robert Presley, and Mark Martin were all involved. It takes a while for Dale to get out of the car. We see all the other drivers getting out of their cars and checking things out. But you can see the safety workers, they're not really moving incredibly fast. So you can kind of tell it's not like a dire situation. They do have to cut him out of the car, but he's able to walk under his own power into the ambulance, and he waves to the crowd and all that stuff. So and then the crowd obviously erupts as he gets out of the car, because obviously everybody's concerned about this. But from there, we see a replay of the wreck from every single angle they have, in cars, every camera on the track. Just you get the full view of everything that happened. And yeah, I mean, it was Ernie getting loose and screwing up, and it was not intentional. I know there was maybe a little bit of worry about that, but it very clearly wasn't intentional. I mean, he's not going to wreck somebody at the Tri-Oval of Talladega, and he's long past the Swerve and Irvin days. We do get an interview with Larry McReynolds, who's trying to explain what happens, and he mentions Ernie being on the apron. He mentions he thinks Sterling came down on him, but he also hadn't seen a replay at that time, so he didn't totally know what was going on. We do see in one of the replays, after Mark Martin spins, he almost runs into Greg Sachs, who is also crashing, but he's able to get through it. I think he ended up third, I want to say. We get an interview with David Hobbs and Richard Childress. He says Dale's chest and collarbone are hurt. He doesn't think anything's broken, which we know is not true. And there's no blame on Ernie here, which I was a little surprised. I kind of figured there would be, but there wasn't. Another commercial break. The only commercial to note was there was a Budweiser Olympics ad with, I thought they were playing football, but I guess the Clydesdales were playing rugby maybe. I don't know. They were all lining up with some fucking ball. I don't know, man.
Some fucking ball.
From here, that brings us to the very end of the race. So, as we mentioned earlier, they cut this race to 129 laps, and after the red flag, it was a 5-lap shootout. Dale Jarrett and Jimmy Spencer start out in the lead, and it's almost all Fords up front, except for Jeff Gordon. And, you would think with all these Fords that they all work together, but no, Jeff is able to get past them all, and he with 3 to go, and is able to hold off everybody and wins the race.
I mean, that wasn't how it was in those days. There was no alliances or anything like that. Even between teammates, they wouldn't help each other. So
no, that's the thing is most drivers back then, especially, you think of Earnhardt, Rusty, and Ernie, and those guys didn't like having teammates. Very, very different times. Jeff Gordon, he gets the points lead. I mean, he doesn't win the title this year, obviously, but he gets the points lead. It was the 6th win of the season. They said he got a $160,000 bonus, which I don't remember why, but good for him. His lovely ex-wife Brooke is there in Victor Lane with him, and the one quote that I pulled was, "You don't want to see a 5-lap shootout here. It can get nasty," from Jeff, which Bud, wait till the green-white checker becomes a thing.
Just wait, pal. It gets worse.
Before the final commercial break, they show a shot of Dale and Sterling's cars parked in the garage, and there is a tarp over Dale's car because the roof was cut off. And then, because this was the condensed version of the race that played a week after the fact, we get some interviews with Dale, Ernie, and Sterling. The Dale interview is a press conference at the Brickyard 400, where he talks about the different parts of the wreck and what injuries he got. He says he broke his sternum when he hit the wall, and when either Derek or Ken hit him is when he broke his collarbone. He said he talked to Schrader after the race, and he says, I saw you spinning and I aimed for you. So, obviously they were very good friends. So that was a joke. And then from there, I thought this was very funny. We see Ernie and Sterling in a camper watching a replay of the wreck on a TV, and getting their analysis. And Ernie says everybody's gonna have a different opinion. He just says he got loose and came up off the apron, and he was apologetic about the wreck. But he said because Dale was involved, it brought a whole lot more attention to it, which is true. I mean, if it definitely would not have gotten the media coverage if it was just a wreck involving him or fucking Jimmy Spencer or something,
Right.
Then we get an interview with Sterling, and I'll admit it, I couldn't understand half of what he was fucking saying.
Well, that's implied.
He seemed to make it seem like he didn't think Ernie did it intentionally, which obviously was true. But he was pretty much over it. He's like, yep, it happened, just moving on and hopefully win next year. So that was the 96 Die Hard 500, a historic race for not necessarily the greatest reasons, but just like an interesting moment in time, and probably something that'll never happen again with the way TV and streaming happens. That I don't know if we'll ever see a race delayed like this one was, especially with something so important happening and nobody being able to see it for a week.
I mean, it's almost impossible, especially with NASCAR. They always post the races on Tuesday, Monday, some shit like that on their YouTube. So they don't even allow that to happen anymore. So yeah, we'll definitely never see that again.
Yeah. Well, any other notes from you guys?
I will say this. So I was at this point after Davey passed, I kind of gravitated towards Rusty Wallace and Jeff Gordon as my guys. But I also loved Mark Martin because he was from Arkansas. He's over in Batesville, just a few hours away from where I was living at the time. And I loved that Valvoline scheme he was running 92, 93, 94. And I remember when this one came in, it was cool, because it was like definitely more blue. It matched Robbie Gordon's Indy car, which I thought was cool. But I remember being so pissed as a kid that they ruined that beautiful Valvoline scheme. And it was my first real example in my life of fuck, man, that car sucks. Why'd they have to change it? It looks great. Don't get me wrong, but it's probably arguably a better scheme. But that early '90s Valvoline Roush scheme was just so good looking.
It's funny you mention that because I have heard more people say they liked this 96 scheme, which actually also, you mentioned Indy. This scheme ran as a one-off at the 95 Brickyard 400, and then for whatever reason they decided to run it full-time the next year. And then when they went to the Taurus, they went to this kind of splatter scheme with kind of a sketchier-looking six, which
it's even more
I
gross.
I didn't necessarily love, but I guess it was fitting of the gross car at the time. So
yeah, shit sucked.
Yeah,
that one was
gross.
terrible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even in person.
I have no notes.
Great.
Oh yeah.
I think you said it all. I mean, it was a race. We watched it. It's great.
That's fair. That's fair. Fine.
It's a nice little trip down my childhood memory lane.
Oh yeah, I love these early mid '90s broadcasts. I'll throw one on in the house once in a while, just to feel something, because these were ubiquitous in the background of my childhood. TNN was always on, or whatever was always on. There was always a race happening, especially obviously on Sundays, and yeah, just a lot of these commercials really brought me back, and any opportunity to share that with folks, I really relish in. And again, out of all of the ones we've watched, this one definitely had the most that are just calcified into my DNA.
Yeah, I mean these races from 93, 94 up until 2000, I watched pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we go back and watch them, it's definitely a trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
1996 was my peak year in 6th grade of writing Gordon rules, Earnhardt rules all over all my notebooks, and fighting with this girl Jessica Donahue, who was an Earnhardt fan in my class, who sat behind me. So it was a bunch of threes with an X through them on my notebook.
One thing of note, I will say, only one rookie in this race, which I thought was interesting, being Johnny Benson. Everybody else did not have the big R next to him.
Ultimate 23 Dragon.
It's true.
Special,
The king.
special race for.
But yeah, that was the only thing I noted going over the results and the running order and all that. Also, the winnings are posted for this race because they did that up until about 2014.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon took home a $250,000 for his efforts.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the current video of the week. So no NASCAR this week because as of October 7th, it is Super Dirt Week in Oswego.
Yes, thank
this
God.
This is the big Northeast tradition, which unfortunately moved from the Syracuse Mile to Oswego in 2016, I believe. But I went and found a video that features both the Super Dirt 94 feature and the World of Outlaws feature, which ran the same weekend. Now, unfortunately, the Outlaws no longer run Super Dirt Week, but there was many years where they did. So we're going to watch both the 94 features next week.
Well, that's great news because I know that big block modified die-casts are very expensive to make, so you don't see a lot of stop motion coming out of that world. So as soon as you said Super Dirt Week, my little heart just flooded. So thank you. This is going to be a good one.
Now I'm going to have to look and find some modified stop motion. I doubt they exist because, like you said, they are very expensive. But maybe they're out there.
Those are for the display case.
Yeah. So yeah, as mentioned, Talladega's this weekend, and you're not going this year, are you, True Love?
No, I went in the spring. I'm gonna skip this one.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well,
Go to the road next weekend.
Oh,
yeah, that's true. I will be hopefully back home from New York by the time the race starts. I'll probably miss the beginning of it, but I'll have it on in the car driving home. But I doubt I'll watch the race Saturday. I'll be busy.
Yeah, I have to go to a wedding on Saturday, so I can't watch Saturday either. So.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, that means it all
Relying on
falls
you.
on
I guess
you.
I gotta go buy a fucking antenna now. What am I bitching about? The Xfinity Series is the best NASCAR product of the Big Three series, so there ain't nothing to complain about there.
That's fair. And yeah, I guess it sounds like none of us are doing any racing stuff this week.
No.
I am still mulling over Super Dirt Week, but we'll see. I gotta watch the weather and stuff, so I don't know if I want to make that trip again, but
That's fair.
I am going out this week to try to buy some crap in New York, so we'll see
Well,
how
the
that
weather
goes.
does look pretty good up here. There shouldn't be any rain
Yes.
in the forecast, so if you're gonna go to the racetrack, this is the weekend to do it.
Well, there's nothing going. Like, they're still prepping the track and all that, so nothing starts at Oswego until Monday or Tuesday, I guess.
Oh
so,
shit, that's right.
yeah. Plus, it's like a totally different direction. It's actually only like 3-ish hours from here, so it's a lot easier of a drive
Fair
to
enough. Yeah.
if I want to do that. But cool. So yeah, Talladega will be happening next week, so that's what we'll be talking about, and whatever other updates happen in the silly season and lawsuits and God knows what else will happen. So
Yeah.
hopefully nobody dies. Let's just say that there's been a lot of deaths this week. Listen. There have been tons of celebrity deaths this week. So let's just hope nobody in the NASCAR world
Chris
dies.
Christopherson in particular. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Frank from American Pickers died. Pete
right.
Rose died.
Pete Rose.
Well, it comes in threes, so there's three. So we're
Charlie
good.
Hustle.
The guy from Roots and Good Times died. I forget his name.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of different people
Yeah, he's a
died.
Broadway actor. Yeah, just tough week for entertainment. But yeah, Chris Christopherson, I know that at least True Love and I have a special place in our hearts.
Yeah.
That was a
tough one.
I didn't realize he was 88 though.
Yeah.
He's always
they're
been
all-
like 50
they're
years
all
old to me,
up
no
there.
matter what year it was.
So I just got Willie hanging on.
Well, unlike Willie, Chris held up as far as his looks and stuff. I don't think he ever looked as old as he actually was necessarily.
No.
Although he looked old when he was young, so I guess that
That's true.
helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest in peace, Chris.
With that, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and Meet Me at the Bees on Twitter. I am Speedway Screens on all the things, and SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop. Mima, what are you here to plug?
I'll take it I'll take it serious for once, and it's, what is it? Snake Mountain. Snake Mountain underscore.
Jesus Christ.
I'll take it serious. Fucks it up.
Can't even do a full minute.
That sentence so long. Where's the underscore go?
Snake Mountain
underscore true love. The only reason I said that is fuck. Because I've been sharing a ton of resources for Hurricane Helene donations. So
Yes, you have. Yeah.
I've been trying to share as many collection sites and organizations that have boots on the ground. Like, if you're far away and you want to donate, don't donate to places like Red Cross or like
No.
Samaritan's Purse. That money doesn't go to the right place. So I'll try to share a lot of smaller organizations that really need the funds immediately. So
I mean, hell, you can even give money to Greg Biffle if you want to. He's got his Venmo
Yeah.
up. And as weird as
Yeah.
it feels to give money to Greg Biffle, I can assure you that guy's he's doing the work right now.
yeah, he's been going nonstop. I mean, he rescued a family today that were signaling him from a mile away with a mirror using the sun. So it's
Yeah. And we'll also post those links from our account as well.
Send $69 to Greg. He'll love it.
Rodmotes underscore unofficial on Instagram. Kind of the same deal. Like I don't really post much on Instagram, but again, we'll be sharing some links this week for fundraising for rescue efforts out there. Obviously, North Carolina has a special place in all of our hearts, not just because of the racing, but we all have a lot of friends out there. This is a tough week to see that happening, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like their government response is all that great, but there's a lot of good people out there who are doing that good work. And if you got money to spare, please give it to them because they need all the help they can get out there. So no band plugs or anything this week. Just put all your attention on Carolina and Tennessee, please.
yeah.
Now I feel like a real dickhead plugging my stuff.
Well, you didn't know we were going to do that. We are playing October 18th at the Lizard Lounge if you want to come say what's up to me in Boston, but I don't think anybody from the state of Massachusetts listens to this shit, so it is what it is.
Start plugging the podcast at your shows.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, with that, it looks like the check is here. So thank you once again for joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to you all next week.